You have to not only live your life in spite of people who don't understand you, you have to have more fun than they do.
The concept that Taylor Swift is talking about here has just changed the formula for growing a personal brand. Taylor has recently crossed a net worth of $1.1 billion. And despite the popular opinion that there can't be any ethical billionaires, she seemed to have convinced the majority of people that she has broken that rule. So how has Taylor done it? How did she beat cancel culture and succeed where all other billionaires failed? Well, after studying her rapid growth over the past years, I've realized something. Taylor has discovered a new growth method that has been hiding in plain sight and can be used by all businesses. Her growth framework is a three-part formula, a business formula that is responsible for making her the wealthiest artist in history. It starts with part 1, Appeasing Her Haters. Now, the title might confuse you a little bit because almost all advice out there tells you to ignore the haters and just make stuff for yourself and don't think about your audience. And the reason people give that advice? Because often, once you start arguing with or try appeasing your haters, it only serves to draw more negative attention to you and your brand image. But Taylor has changed everything. She used a few very smart tactics to make haters skyrocket her growth more than she could have ever done alone. Let's watch this brief clip. Listen carefully to what she's saying. She subtly hints here to her strategy.
They're saying I'm dating too much in my 20s. Okay, I'll stop. I'll just be single for years. Now they're saying my album Red is filled with too many breakup songs. Okay, I'll make one about moving to New York and deciding that really my life is more fun with just my friends. Oh, they're saying my music is changing too much for me to stay in country music. All right, here's an entire genre shift and a pop album called 1989.
If Taylor never adjusted her life on what haters were saying about her, then these haters would appear more like genuine critics that just came with her brand. But by always doing the opposite on what people were hating on her for, it meant she was always trending online about something new, whether it was dating too much or being a manipulator. This kept her on the tip of everyone's tongue. And as she kept proving these critics wrong, people slowly started to view them less as critics, but more as jealous haters. Meaning, she was able to simultaneously give herself more attention and improve her brand image and the loyalty of her fans. But many other artists and business owners have tried this, so how did Taylor succeed? Well, this next step makes all the difference. You see, people are much quicker to judge you on what you do rather than what you say you do. Taylor is very aware of this, and unlike her predecessors, she never directly acknowledged her haters during her rise in fame. Instead, she simply acted on their criticism. It's actually when you get heated or you post crying stories about your haters that people start to question your legitimacy and whether these haters are right or not. But when you simply solve the problem that they're talking about, there's very little they can do but acknowledge your character. While these haters will always find something to be annoyed about, that's just the cycle it is, and actually running with it is gonna allow you to have this explosive growth. While these specific tactics solve the hater problem, there's another major hurdle that Taylor had to overcome, which brings us to the second part of the equation, the relevancy problem. Most big creators or anyone who has a personal brand always has one big problem after their breakthrough: their relevancy. This is especially an issue when you're trying to become a billionaire or the most famous person on the planet. You have to keep on top of your game and be one of the best in the world for years to come or even across decades. This is something no artist in history has been able to do. But Taylor solved this in 3 smart ways. Number 1, she started off with a niche. Taylor started off in country pop and folk with albums like Fearless and Speak Now. This meant she could dominate the country music niche before going broader. A great lesson for all business owners. Before you take over the world, you first have to take over a niche. Back in 2006 up till 2010, when she started off, the country music niche was lacking in good original songs. It was in high demand, but there was low supply. And Taylor was able to break through by feeding a hungry niche.
Y'all wanna hear some country music?
If Taylor Swift only decided to start her music career today and tried to launch the same country music as she did back then, it's possible she would have never been discovered, as currently there isn't a gap in this industry, like there was back then in the 2000s. This isn't to say that she got lucky. She simply made the smart move of analyzing the market and making music in that niche that people wanted but didn't have yet. Number 2 is that then she expanded into different niches. Once she got her initial breakthrough and also her first group of core fans, only then did she start to expand into other niches. But she did something very clever here, which a few other billionaires have also done. Let's see if you can spot it. In 2012, she slowly transitioned into pop with her album Red, but it still maintained her country roots. And then in 2014, it seemed like she was a full-blown pop artist with her song Shake It Off, Folklore, and Evermore, released in 2020 and marked another significant change in her style, exploring indie, alt-rock, and folk pop. Now, why is all of this relevant and what does it have to do with building a personal brand? Well, this is actually the perfect example of someone using a business concept called niche market expansion in full effect. Instead of going straight from niche country music to pop artists and staying there, she slowly transitioned through and tried lots of different niches and genres. And every time she went into a new genre, she would surf a gap in the market and soak up even more fans. Because she already had a core audience, her music would get recognized very quickly due to the immediate social proof. You can do this in most businesses if your goal is to become the biggest of the world. Jeff Bezos did the same thing with Amazon. It started off as an online bookstore, but slowly expanded until it contained everything and basically could be used by anyone. But there's a trap that most people fall into when they are gonna try this method, and that is what makes this final part so important. Number 3, she maintains a consistent brand. Listen to this clip from Taylor and see if you can figure out what year exactly she said this.
I sing about like love and breakups, and you know, whatever your priorities are, whatever your life is at the moment, that's what you sing about.
Did you guess what year? She actually said this in an interview in 2011 when she was still doing country music, but you would have been forgiven if you guessed any other year in her musical career. That's because despite all the changes she went through, she always kept her unique storytelling and powerful lyrics at the core of each song. Taylor always asked this question: how can I expand to new markets and new people without neglecting my core audience? And that will always remain the main question you have to ask yourself when you're trying to build an empire. She's even still done this recently. She broke into the film business with a 250 million concert movie that her core audience still loved. So now we have the 2 parts of the formula: appeasing the haters and expanding across different markets. But part 3 is where Taylor's best idea comes into play: actually being ethical. Crazy, I know. But here's the thing. While the last 2 parts were critical in getting her to where she is today, if she was doing something unfair or unethical, people would have still caught on and cancelled her anyways. But luckily for Taylor, her whole life she seems to have understood the biggest, most compounding investment she will ever make is in her name. While many others have said yes to fast money by underpaying workers or hoarding billions to themselves, anyone who looks at Taylor Swift will see that she pays anyone who works for her more than fairly, gives so much of her wealth away without making a big deal about it, and always makes fan-first decisions. While she is a billionaire, that doesn't mean that she has that much in her bank. That's just what her brand and business are worth in theory. Any actual money that she has for herself is often given away to people who really need it. And Taylor is now a shining beacon to the world that money doesn't mean evil. You can in fact get rich without taking advantage of anyone. Of course, not everything is going to be perfect, but that is what life is, right? Humans by nature are good and bad, but that doesn't mean that we can't change the world. The majority of people seem to understand this, and they didn't cancel Taylor Swift when she became a billionaire. And in fact, now she's more popular than she's ever been before. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to learn more on how you can make money online in a positive way, then subscribe to this channel and make sure to watch the next video.